6, when life is busy, you can often feel like you're only just keeping up, like you can't stop, take a break, or slow down. Being busy has become a major part of our modern day lifestyle, and as a result, we're struggling. So how can we get more done in less time and stay focused on what we actually need to do? Author Jess Stewart is here with some answers. Jess, good morning.
Morning.
You know, we have this thing in our head that the busier we are, the more successful we are. Where did that come from? And it's silly.
It is, and it makes sense from a productivity perspective. We think the more hours we put in, the more we'll get done, and yet we know from the stats around our mental health and burnout that that's actually getting us closer to burnout, not closer to great productivity. So the secret and the antidote to that is often something that's quite counterintuitive, because it's the opposite. It's when we slow down, we get more done, we can focus on what's in front of us rather than spreading ourselves so thin over lots of different things, and so we become more effective. It's this difference between being busy and being effective.
Yeah, because you bring up deep work within your column, and so I wonder if you can explain to us what that deep work is, because it's that focus, right, on one thing.
It is that focus, and deep work is the ability to focus and concentrate on a cognitively demanding task and avoid all distractions, which is really hard in our current climate.
Yeah, I was thinking about it when I was reading through the notes, and I'll sit and do some work, right? And I'll focus in on one interview, and then I'll pick my phone up, and then I'll just look up at the TV, see what's happening on the TV, and then kind of get back into it again. And you know, I'm not entirely using that focus on the one thing that I'm doing, because as you say, it is challenging. So how do we stay focused then, Jess?
This is the tricky bit. There are so many distractions around. There's so much vying for our attention, particularly with our phones. When you think multiple chat channels, multiple platforms, our social media, there's colleagues around, meetings, emails, phone calls, and each time we get distracted and taken away, it takes us longer then to complete the task. And if that task isn't getting our full focus and attention, potentially we're not doing as good a job at it either, because our brain has been pulled in many directions. So a lot of this is about setting our environment up for success, having the door closed to keep out the kids and the cats when we're at home. It might just be as simple as having the laptop plugged in so it's not going to run out of battery, or a water on the desk, or a favourite soda on the desk, so that we're not wandering off to get things and breaking our focus and attention. But I'd definitely say the notifications on our phone, having phones on silent, removing the notifications, that's been a game changer for me and my focus.
Yeah, that's a good one, actually. I might try that one. I want to go back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of doing more, thinking that from a productivity side, actually, we're getting more done when the reality is that we're not so much. I wonder how much social media has had an influence on this as well, because you're watching people and you're seeing the multiple things that they are doing and going, oh my God, they're so busy. Look where I'm at, and then you look where other people are at. That's dangerous, right?
Oh, it's so dangerous. And I think with social media, we're not always comparing apples with apples. You know, we see somebody's perfect life and then wonder why ours doesn't compare. And I know for me, you know, I was stuck in that comparison trap. More is always better. And I thought that extra hours was always going to be the answer until I hit burnout. And I remember that day in the doctor's office when they said, look, you've got to pull away from work. You've got to stop work. And that feeling of, but I haven't got time. I haven't got time for this.
Yeah.
And yet sometimes our bodies don't give us the choice. And I think, you know, being able to know that before it's too late and manage that, because you're right, we are conditioned to believe more is always better. But I think sometimes with productivity, less can be better. Less can be more when we're integrating focus rather than just spreading ourselves so thinly over everything.
And there's so much anecdotal evidence to tell us that, right? People who are in high pressure jobs, but they're not spreading themselves over too many different things, or even if they do have lots of things, they're focusing on one at a time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the trick. Chingy, that's the trick. Jess Stewart, as always, so lovely to have you on the couch with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.